What if we could take a special trait from one living thing and just give it to another? Today, we're unlocking the science of altering the very code of life itself.
So let's kick things off with a pretty wild story from the lab, just to see how powerful this technology really is. It all starts with a jellyfish, but not just any jellyfish. We're talking about one that literally glows in the dark. Scientists were able to zoom in and pinpoint the exact gene that gives it this incredible ability.
Then comes the crazy part. Using some amazing molecular tools, they managed to carefully snip out that glowing gene, and then they pasted it right into the DNA of some totally normal bacteria. Like E. coli. Seriously, it's like copying a line of code from one computer program and dropping it into a completely different one.
And the result? Well, it's a perfect illustration of what genetic engineering is all about. The bacteria, now carrying this brand new jellyfish gene, actually started producing that glow-in-the-dark protein. You shine a UV light on them and bam, they light up. It was proof that you could transfer a fundamental instruction for life between two completely different species. A result that stunning just opens up a flood of questions, right? I mean, how is that even possible? And if we could make bacteria glow, what else could we do by rewriting the rules of life? Okay, let's really dive into this. So, first things first, before we go any further, we need to get a really clear handle on the fundamental concept here. What exactly are we talking about when we use the term genetic engineering? At its core, genetic engineering is all about the direct manipulation of an organism's genome using biotechnology. So you're essentially giving that organism a new set of instructions by adding, deleting, or changing a piece of its DNA, all to give it a new trait it didn't have before. So how do scientists actually perform this genetic surgery? Well, it's not magic. It's a set of really precise tools and techniques. Let's look at two of the most famous examples to get a feel for how it's done. Okay, one of the most common and life-saving uses is making medicine. For people with type 1 diabetes, we can now make huge amounts of human insulin. Here's how. Scientists take the human gene for insulin and they insert it into a tiny loop of bacterial DNA called a plasmid. This new combo is called recombinant DNA. They put it back into the bacteria, which then start multiplying like crazy, turning into these tiny, super efficient factories that just pump out pure human insulin.
But what if you want to copy an entire animal? Well, that brings us to the most famous clone of all time, Dolly the sheep. This process, reproductive cloning, is kind of like a genetic switcheroo. It's a three-sheep job. One sheep provides the complete DNA you want to copy, a second sheep donates an egg cell, and a third acts as the surrogate mom. By taking the DNA from the first sheep and putting it into the empty egg of the second, scientists created a little lamb that was a perfect genetic twin of that first sheep.
With a toolkit this powerful, it's really no surprise that its applications have spread far and wide, impacting our daily lives in ways you might not even realize.
The impact of this tech is pretty much all around us. In medicine, it's creating life-saving hormones and helping us research cures for genetic diseases. In our food supply, it's creating crops that can feed more people and even fight malnutrition. A great example is golden rice. It's engineered to produce vitamin A, which can literally prevent blindness in kids. And looking ahead, cloning might even give us a way to save endangered species from vanishing forever.
Of course, having this incredible power to alter life itself, well, that comes with a huge debate. There are really strong arguments on both sides. So let's start by looking at the arguments in favor, the great promise of this technology.
So proponents argue that genetic engineering offers some really powerful solutions to the world's biggest problems. We could boost food security by making crops that produce way more food and can survive tough conditions. We can make medicines cheaper, more accessible. And therapeutic cloning offers this mind-blowing possibility of growing replacement organs and tissues personalized for a patient, which would eliminate the risk of rejection.
But on the other side of that coin, there are some pretty significant risks and some deep ethical concerns that we absolutely have to think about. Critics worry a lot about what we don't know. What are the long-term health effects of eating genetically modified foods for decades? What happens if a modified gene escapes into the wild and starts disrupting entire ecosystems? There's also the risk of reducing genetic diversity. If all our crops are the same, they could be wiped out by a single disease. And we can't forget Dolly the sheep, who died young, which raises serious questions about the health of cloned organisms. So, you see, we're left with this fundamental conflict. On one side, we have the potential to solve some of humanity's oldest and biggest problems: hunger, disease. But on the other, we're facing risks we don't fully understand yet. The real challenge is figuring out how to move forward, how to balance this incredible progress with the caution that this kind of power demands.
This technology, this ability to edit the source code of life itself, has put humanity at a really profound crossroads. It's forcing us to think very carefully about what kind of future we actually want to build.
I think this quote really gets to the heart of our situation. We have this incredible power, and it feels almost inevitable that we're going to use it to shape our own future. So the real question isn't if we'll move forward, but how we'll choose to do it.
And that right there leaves us with the ultimate takeaway. The future of genetic engineering isn't just a scientific question anymore. It's a human one. As we stand on the verge of becoming the authors of our own biology, we have to ask ourselves, where do we draw the line? And maybe the most important question of all, who gets to decide?